Okay, so yesterday we've been talking about microservices, but we didn't see any code. Today, we are not really going to create a microservice, but we are going to see the skeleton, a project skeleton that we can use to start creating either intranets or little web services. We will see that we can expose an API using Xojo Web for this. But if you just want to create an intranet, that's fine also. So in this session, we are going to see this little example that I've prepared. And we will see some basic stuff like just creating a login page so your users can connect to your website, enter their credentials, and just go to the dashboard. And from there, start entering stuff in the CMS and the like. We will see one of the bigger differences from other project types like desktop or iOS, like Paul mentioned yesterday. We will start receiving more than one request to our application. So multiple users, we are going to start to use the application from different web browsers. So we will see how the web session works. And we will also see how to keep all these sessions in sync. We've been doing some internal meetings this week, and we were reorganizing the roadmap. Travis was asking us if we were seeing the changes in real time, and with GitLab it wasn't possible. And you can do this with Xojo Web in a really easy way. So yeah, with other web frameworks, it can be kind of complicated. You will probably want to use a WebSocket, but with Xojo it's so easy, and we will see in a second. So yeah, I'm going to see it and show the demo, but please raise your hand or tell me if you have any question and if you want to clarify anything that we aren't seeing. Otherwise, I will continue displaying the example. But yeah, just stop me if you need to solve any question. So here is our little example. This is a simple login page. You have the email and password. If you put anything that it doesn't fit, it's going to complain. Of course, it's going to say invalid email or password. And if you put the correct credentials, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, of course, you will access the intranet or the skeleton of a possible intranet. So you can see we have the dashboard where you could be displaying the chart of your sales, for example. We only have just the counter of people in this intranet. Now, we also have a list box and a button to create a person inside this intranet, like, for example, Ricardo. It's going to show it as you expect. You can update it as well, and you can delete it. The special thing about this demo is if there is multiple people connecting to this example, okay, that's it. We will see that we have in 2 of the browsers, we have the people web page, And in the other two, we have the people counter on the dashboard. If we create a new person from any of the sessions, like in this case, you can see that we can synchronize every single session from that action. And this is so boring in Xojo and so complex in other frameworks that, I don't know. the first time I see this in 2018, which is when I discovered Xojo, I was amazed about how easy it is. We also have an API. So if we send a request to the API, we are going to receive an array, a JSON with an array of people. If I create another one, like, hello, London, and I refresh, there you go. You can also inspect an individual item, hello, London, and you also can create new items from the API. Like, for example, if we send a JSON saying name equals to testing, and we send the request, you will see that it's going to update also the list box. And you have everything synchronized. Any questions so far? OK, for the basic page, the login page, we are going to start exploring the web project. Let me make this smaller so it fits. There you go. OK, so we have the login page. This normal web project where we have just a login page. In this page, we just have a web rectangle with a few fields, the email field, password text field, and the button. The special thing about this one is in web projects, we can also have controls that aren't locked to the top and the left. So this way, you can also create controls that are centered on a screen. And yeah, whenever you press the login button, as we've been mentioning in Mark presentations, we can decouple the actual code and put everything that is not GUI related into a module, for example. In this case, we are going to call the intranet module auth validate, and we are going to pass the email and password. And if it validates, if this method returns true, we are going just to show the dashboard web page. Otherwise, we are going to show the invalid email or password message box. Inside this method, if we go to the implementation, it's just a simple email and password validation. In a real application, of course, if it's a multi-user application, you will be probably querying the database, comparing the hash password with the hash password that the user is passing from the browser, and you will return the Boolean. If it's true, the user will go in. Otherwise, the message will be shown. Now, web sessions. This is the unique thing about this Xojo project type. Anytime you create a new web page and you drop a control into that web page, it's going to be attached to a session. A session in Xojo Web is every tab in every browser. So if I change anything in one of the sessions, it's unique to that browser tab. So if I change the text field, it's not going to change anything in any other session, as you expect in any web page. So you can have individual properties for individual sessions in the session class. And if you have any property in any web page or any class of your web project, normally it's going to be unique to that session, and it will be attached to that session. The only two things that are global by default is the application itself. So you could be adding properties here, and they will be available everywhere. So this testing integer is going to be available everywhere. If you change anything there, any other session that is writing or reading that property is going to be globally accessible. The other thing that is global accessible are the modules. Like, for example, this intranet module I've created is going to be shared between every session. So if we move this testing property to the intranet, it will also be accessible by every other session. And that way, you don't clutter all the application class, and you can organize your code in individual modules.
Are shared properties on regular classes global?
Yeah, in this case, this will be global. So, for example, in the GUI, if you go to the login web page, this will be global as well. So if you put the testing property inside but you will have to convert it to shared. If you have a shared property called testing, it will be global. If you create an instance of this class into one of the web pages, even if it's inside a module, it's going to be attached to that session, which is the case on the dashboard web page. I have here an instance of the people, which is a people repository. This is not global. This is attached to that session. Any other questions so far?
When you connected in via curl, you totally bypass the username and password. How do you secure?
Yeah, you will be have to create a method to receive this password, and you will have to be hashing that password, and you will compare with another hash password from the database. So it should be, you should be doing a one-way hashing, so nobody is going to be able to recover that password. Any other questions about the web session? Okay, so now the fun thing, which is keeping the sessions in sync. There are multiple ways of doing this. I'm going to show you just a release one, which could be calling a method that I've created, which is called update sessions in the application. Can you see it properly there? Okay, the code is really easy. You are going to iterate through every session, and you are going to call the update session I have inside the session class as well. these methods are not built into Xojo, you will have to create them. So the update session, the session update, is going to check the current page that specific session is actually seeing. Like, for example, if I'm in the dashboard, I'm going to check if the current page is that web page or not. For example, if a user, in this case, is in the login web page, nothing is going to happen. But if one of the users are on the dashboard and another one is on the people page, one of them is going to update the dashboard and the other one is going to be everything refreshed, but only in that web page. We are not going to upgrade, we are not going to update the whole application for that user to save some resources. And inside the dashboard web page, for example, we are just going to ask the people repository for the count of people, and we are going to see the value updated. So whenever we update the application, like creating a new person, updating a person, or deleting a person, we are going to call update sessions. Update sessions is going to call the session update method, and that session is going to be in charge of updating the specific page that the user is seeing. After this plumbing is done, then we can go to the people repository. And if we explore the methods, we have one which is create, which is just going to insert a row into the database. And after that, we're going to call update sessions, and all the magic is going to happen. What I'm doing here is decoupling the action from the result. So when you press on the create button, it's not going to refresh the list box directly. It's the application that is responsible to update everything in every other session. The same with delete, but not with reads, of course, because we don't want to be seeing resources there. And also with update. Any question about the synchronization? Okay. More ways to do this could be to use an observable pattern. Like, for example, if you have in the model and you choose the observable, like, for example, the data notifier, we could be adding methods. So whenever we update the database, we could be calling all the observers, and they will be in charge of update their list box, for example. They will implement the receiver data notification interface. So, well, you could do anything in order to refresh the data in this case. But I don't know, if you are just having one instance of your application in one server, this should be enough in this case. If you are going to have more than instance of your application, like in the session we gave yesterday using microservices, then you will probably want to use another way to upgrade, to refresh the users. Any other question? Okay, so the last thing that I want to show is how to create the toolbar. And Jim already mentioned that you should be using the tag in order to localize your application and avoid any localization bug caused by trying to check the caption of the button that you are pressing. So if you are using a tag, for example, in this case, dashboard, and we press any button, we are going to be checking the tag. So if we press the dashboard button, we are going to close the current page, and then we are going to show the dashboard page. The logout is a little bit special. The only thing that we want to do is to close the session, to quit, and just refresh the browser, going to the root of the application. So if you press on logout, there you go. The browser is going to refresh, and as the login web page is the default web page in your application, it's going to show it. Any question? Do you want to share? Yeah.
How do these sessions work? Is it with session cookies or?
Yeah, every session has its own thread, and every request that you receive is going to have another thread as well.
Yeah, but for the communication with the tab in the browser, outside of the browser, does it work with session cookies or?
No, okay. I think the question is, how does this communicate between the server and the browser?
Yeah. The site in the browser has to authenticate in each and every request again. Sometimes that's done with session cookies that are sent long. Sometimes it's done with something that they implement in the page itself. How is it working in Xojo?
Yeah, if you want to be authenticated in every browser that you have, you should be adding cookies in that case. So for example, in the authentication method, you could store a cookie with validated authentication and a signature, for example. So whenever the user creates a new session, in the preparing session event, you could be reading that cookie, and if it matches, you could just redirect that user to the dashboard directly.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
In your example, doesn't refresh the other windows, or does it refresh it?
Yeah. Let me show it again. So yeah, if I have two sessions and I create a new person, see the other browser is, yeah, and if you remove anyone from the other, it will update also the top browser. And also if you create a new user from the API, it will be updating because, well, we have an API in the create method of the API. What we are calling is just the people repository, and as the create method is going to call the update sessions method, it's going to do all this refreshing on the other sessions. So it doesn't matter really if you are doing that action from a web browser or from the API. That's probably what's matter about decoupling the code between the GUI and the model.
And is there see the IP address coming to prevent a user to log from two places?
Yeah. Is there a way to see the IP address? Yeah, you have in the handle URL, you have access to the request. So you could be doing something like if request remote address equals to something, you can block the user, or also you have the access for the path, the method, everything.
That example, you're gonna put it on the website of the XDC, or?
Yeah, I can tell Dana to send the example URL so you can download it, yeah. And if you have any question while playing with the project, you can just send me a message and ask any question you have.
Okay.
So in this case, the handle URL is going to check the API module, and it's going to check if it can handle the URL. And if that class can handle the URL, then it's going to check the method. And if it's creating a new user, then it's going to call an internal method and just prepare the response in one single place. This is a way of creating it. More questions?
About
Yeah.
About the list box.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a performance issue if you have too much list box on the page? Like I have an example. I have the schedule of 4 weeks, so it's like 28 list boxes. Is that gonna?
It should be a problem to have many controls in the web page. If you want to add 24, I think it should be fine. Any other question about this example or Xojo Web? Okay, if not, we can have a break if you want. Thank you very much.